This is the Washington Times front page for Thursday, August 24th, 2023. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. The front page is brought to you by Republican Metals. Call 800-783-3118 to get your free gold guide. That's 800-783-3118. 8 Republican presidential primary candidates clashed over politics and policies at their first debate in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. National politics reporters Seth McLaughlin and Susan Ferricchio recap the debate, where former Vice President Mike Pence and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie each took aim at 38-year-old tech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy over his inexperience, while Florida Governor Ron DeSantis promoted his record and accused the Trump administration of allowing lockdowns and mandates during the COVID-19 pandemic. Former President Trump, the current polling frontrunner, skipped the event. Without his outsized presence, the top contenders sparred with each other over the economy, U.S. involvement in the war in Ukraine, and abortion. Yevgeny Prigozhin, the Russian oligarch whose Wagner Group mercenary army mounted a brief mutiny against the country's military leaders in June, was on the passenger list of a private jet that crashed, killing all 10 people aboard. Mike Glenn reports Russia's Federal Air Transport Agency confirmed that an investigation was opened in the crash of the Embraer Legacy 600 that reportedly belonged to Prigozhin. The plane was on its way from Moscow to St. Petersburg when it crashed about 215 miles northwest of Moscow, according to a state-owned news agency. The crash is the latest chapter in a strange and twisted tale involving Prigozhin, a man once so close to Russian President Vladimir Putin that he was known as Putin's chef. In recent months, however, he was caught up in a vicious power struggle with Putin's top generals regarding Russia's stalemated invasion of Ukraine. India has landed an unmanned space vehicle near the previously unvisited south pole of the moon. Andrew Salmon reports the country joins an exclusive club, the U.S., Soviet Union, and China, of countries that have managed a successful controlled landing of a craft on the surface of the moon. Days before the Indian landing, a Russian unmanned mission to the same area lost control and crashed into the lunar surface. The second stage of the mission, the deployment of a lunar rover, is still pending. Even so, for the world's most populous nation and its largest democracy, the successful landing marks a stunning technological achievement. The front page is brought to you by Republican Metals. Currency change is coming, and Republican Metals believes you need to protect your savings now. Call 800-783-3118 to get your free gold guide. That's 800-783-3118. The conservative legal activist who led the fight to persuade the Supreme Court to end affirmative action in college admissions has now trained his sights on high-profile law firms and their diversity hiring programs. Alex Sawyer reports Edward Blum filed 2 more lawsuits this week, one in Florida against Morrison and Forrester, and another in Texas against Perkins Coie. He said the law firms are violating the law by using skin color as a factor in awarding highly coveted fellowships to law school students that they hire. Earlier this year, the Supreme Court ruled in Students for Fair Admissions v. Harvard that colleges can't use race as part of admissions criteria, and Blum claims that neither can law firms. And finally, legal experts say former President Trump would have several ways to derail the federal cases against him if he's reelected, but the 2 cases brought under state laws present different challenges. Alex Sawyer reports the prosecutors in the cases are pushing for early trials. Experts say that if Trump becomes president before verdicts are rendered, he could shut down the federal cases. Trump faces 4 prosecutions charging him with crimes related to the 2016 campaign, the 2020 election, and classified documents found in his home after he left office. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on social media at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.